Welcome to the AI Queens podcast, the show where women entrepreneurs learn to ditch the overwhelm, embrace AI, and build businesses fit for royalty. I'm Erika Stanley, your host and tech expert, here to deliver tools, tips, and actionable strategies to help you scale smarter. Let's get to it. Hey, Queens. Today, I am joined by Sarah K. Heeter, who's the CEO of Podfox Media and the powerhouse behind 5,000 plus episodes that have reached millions of listeners across over 100 countries. She's got 15 years in marketing and branding, and Sarah has helped countless podcasts become top performers worldwide. She's also the host of the award-nominated Big Brave Business podcast, and she teaches public policy at ASU, Arizona State University in Phoenix. Now, here's why I brought Sarah on today. She is a master at creating lead magnets and quizzes and all kinds of things for her podcast clients that actually convert. And today, we're going to dive into how AI can completely transform the way you attract and nurture all of your ideal clients. So if you've been struggling to create lead magnets that people actually want, or if you're getting crickets when you launch your latest freebie, then this conversation is totally for you. We are going to talk about using AI to craft irresistible quiz questions, lead magnets that speak directly to your audience, and building systems that can turn strangers into raving fans. Let's jump straight into the episode. Hello, Sarah K. Heeter.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Sarah is not just a guest on my podcast. She's also a dear friend of mine and the producer of the AI Queens podcast. So
I love it. I love you. I love the show. I'm so happy.
It's so cool to have you here, especially since I've been a guest on your podcast. So now I feel like we're switching seats. This is very cool.
Just a few times. just a couple. Just a few times you've been on Big Brave Business. Yeah.
I'm super excited to share you with my audience. So I want to kick us off. When you first started using AI, and I remember when you first started using AI and us having all these amazing conversations, but what would you say was the biggest myth that you went in thinking one thing, but you immediately discovered this is not true?
Well, I think the biggest thing that I discovered was not true is I was hearing, as ChatGPT kind of became public and rose in popularity, I was hearing people talk about use cases that sounded too good to be true. And then when I would try them, sure enough, they didn't work. And I think really what that speaks to is there's so much bad advice out there, and people they don't really understand, especially with LLMs, how an LLM actually works. So then when they tell people, oh, here's some quick ways of how you could use this. Like, for example, you can ask ChatGPT for a list of 12 quotes that you can share on your social media. They're going to be wrong. Like, they're just going to be wrong.
Yes.
And that's already come a long way. But I think that really relates to what I would say is still the biggest myth that I feel like I'm constantly combating. And I feel like this connects really well with what we're talking about today with kind of lead magnets and ways to engage with your audience in creative ways, is that AI actually hurts our critical thinking skills. And I think that is related because this bad advice that people give of how to use AI, if that's really how it worked, if that's really what we were doing, then yes, it would eliminate critical thinking skills. But since that doesn't actually work, what we have to do with AI is actually get really creative in new ways and think critically, understanding how these different models work. How can we leverage them and use them? That's actually a ton of critical thinking.
That's such a good point. And I'm so glad you said that. I had not thought about it that way, because I hear that all the time, that we're going to start losing our ability to. No, you can't lose your ability to critically think, because it kind of spits out drivel sometimes, and it's going to give you stuff that's bullshit. And you have to be discerning enough to know the difference.
100%. Yes. And you've had some really great episodes in season 1 already talking about how to tell the quality of the output or the quality of stuff that you're seeing on the internet in general. Your fact-checking episode about kind of the fear mongering and things that are out there, the rage bait that's out there, and being able to kind of use AI for fact checking. That was so helpful for me to reframe that. But yeah, I think it's so frustrating when people say it eliminates critical thinking skills, because I'm like, tell me you don't use AI without telling me you don't use AI. Because if you did, you would know that actually all the people that we meet who are really harnessing the power of AI, they are thinking at such a high level about what can we do? What could this look like? And it is so much more interesting than just like pulling quotes from the internet. By the way, you don't need AI to do that. You
Yes.
can Google it. You can just Google quotes. You don't need
And
AI
those are
for that.
likely going to be more accurate than the ones that AI will spit out anyway.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's take that and segue in because you were talking about using it for quotes for social media. And I know that you have been using AI to generate content for different types of lead magnets. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so I would love for you to tell us a little bit about what you're doing, how you came up with your ideas.
The first thing that we looked at on my team with Podfox was how do we use AI behind the scenes to streamline and really look at these workflows that we have or the amount of manpower that we have. How do we use it behind the scenes? And what I'm really excited about is that this past season, I guess, we've gotten to think about, okay, well, what could AI look like when it's client facing or audience facing, when it's outward and frontward and it's an opportunity to engage with people in new ways. And I really wanted to think about AI in ways that other people aren't doing. So not necessarily trying to build a new app, not necessarily trying to come up with like the next tool that's going to take off and be the thing that like grows my wealth, but more I already have a really functioning business. How can I be creative with AI in a way that will engage the customers I'm already trying to engage with.
Can I stop you for
So,
just a second? Can you back up?
yeah.
When you talk about inward versus out, like inward versus client facing, can you give us a couple of examples
Mhm.
of what you were doing behind the scenes?
Yes. So, of course, like automation is a big thing. And I think automation and AI are often discussed kind of hand in hand. And I think it's a great place to start if you're kind of dabbling in these ideas, because I think that automation has the same effect to me that AI does, where you have to start thinking creatively about once you understand how automation works, what could be automated. And I think the same thing is kind of true for once you understand kind of how, let's say, an LLM works, how could you use an LLM for what you're already doing? You talk a lot about how to use AI as different leadership team
Yeah.
members, right? And that is a huge thing that I was definitely interested in right from the get go, and also just replicating my own brain. I think I love strategy and I love strategy sessions. I love that. And if I could sit down and have a meeting with myself, I just feel like I could do anything. And so being able to sit down with an AI version of myself that I built as a custom bot that I could engage with, that understands my core values, my strategy, my offers, who my audience is, what my team's bandwidth is, how many hours I want to work, like understands all of that, what my support system is like, what kind of ethical things matter to me, all of these things being programmed in and being able to continue to finesse that and figure it out as I go, right? Because I'm
Yeah.
getting better
Yeah.
at it as I continue to use these kind of tools. That was a big part of it. And as another big thing that we've done is how do we just streamline some of the work we do? So how do we streamline the massive amounts of content creation that we do behind the scenes? And so a big thing is we produce podcasts. So writing show notes, we're not using the output from an LLM. We tend to use Claude for that. By the way, I like that much better than ChatGPT for like any kind of creative output, but in writing, but we will generate show notes based on a transcript. Actually, even just the transcripts themselves. That's
Yep.
a big
That's
way we
AI.
started using AI behind the scenes right from the beginning, was AI transcripts instead of manual transcribing. That is so much more affordable, faster, like more accessible. So we would use those transcripts and generate the show notes. And that led to, well, we could generate social media content and blog posts and social media strategy for promoting these podcast episodes, etc. And then yes, it's it's going to be finessed. But if we built the bot, then we can really program in how we do things. So all of that kind of work behind the scenes, it just made our bandwidth go that much further with a limited number of people to be able to serve more podcasters and more
Yeah, I
shows.
I absolutely love that. And I think that's where a lot of people start is those little things behind the scenes where they need help
Mhm.
automating, offloading some of the I hate to call social media content creation busy work because it's absolutely not. But it's not my zone of genius where I'm running my business. It's not it's not your primary function. So you're offloading these things that are not your primary function that are things that are essential for small business owners.
And investing in social media support is so expensive. I think that's another thing. So it makes it accessible to more people. And I think that that really matters. And you've talked about this a little bit on the podcast before, including in your last episode, where accessibility really matters when it comes to AI just making things more accessible for people. Great social media, or even just like good
Yep.
social media, doesn't have to be only available to people who have 16 team members and thousands of dollars a month to spend on social media support, right? We should all be able to do it.
And there's still a place for that. And more people should be able to start their own business if they want to. And the support is there, it's growing with AI. So you have now taken it a step further, though. So you had all of those internal systems
Mhm.
that you have built and tweaked and that you're using and continue to tweak. But now you are using it to create more outward facing things. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm sure that anybody listening to this who follows kind of online marketers has seen people who are selling custom bots. And I think that that's like immediately where your mind goes. And this is where I say critical thinking is not dead, right? Is that we see that and we think like, okay, so if I want to provide an AI offer, then it needs to look like I'm going to provide a custom bot to someone that they can go in and use. That is a great offer. You could, if you're really good at building them, and I know you have like the snarketing
Yep.
bot that is a free one, right? And also you help people with building bots. That's a whole other offer. That's like kind of very
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
meta
Yeah.
way of thinking about this whole idea. But I think like if you're really good at building a bot, that is a great offer. There's nothing wrong with that. And probably will offer a lot of versions of that too. We have a lot in progress of ideas of what that might look like. But we wanted to think more creatively of just, okay, I've got this library of resources. When you go to my website and you click resources, there's this library of PDFs and nobody cares. And at this point, even the people who do love to collect freebies or they participate in bundles or whatever, they download like 400 of them and they save them in a folder on their desktop and then they never look at them again, right? And maybe they open it when they very first download and they're like, yeah, this is a good resource. And then they honestly forget they even have it. Maybe this is just me, but I know it's not.
I'm totally guilty of that. Absolutely.
We all do it, right? And so how could we provide a lead magnet that actually helps people get results? And when I hate even using the word the term lead magnet, but how could we provide resources that people actually use to get results, but are not just like heavy lifting on our part? And so I think this is where AI gives us the opportunity to be really creative. So the first one that was easy that we made live is we made a custom bot companion to our equipment recommendation list. That's one of the number one questions that we get from both existing podcasters and people who want to start a podcast, even people who just want to guest on other podcasts. What microphone do I need? How much money do I have to spend? How much is this going to cost me to outfit my setup? If I want to be able to record sound on the go when I'm at events, etc., like I want to get interviews from people at conferences, what equipment do I need then? If I want to do in person, if I want to do virtual, like I've got all these different needs. So we have an equipment guide that is a 2-page PDF and we have our like top recommendations listed, different budgets, but we created a companion bot that is free, that is through ChatGPT, that will ask you a couple of quick, simple questions about how you're going to record, what it's for, and what your budget looks like. And then it will give you our recommendations from that same list with our Amazon affiliate link to go make those purchases. And what you and I have discussed that's really cool about this is, yes, it's built as like a quiz structure, but it's also engaging enough that if you want to say like, well, it's kind of like this, and you want to interact like you're interacting with a person, the bot is smart enough to say like, maybe this option would work, maybe this option would work. And so it can act like an equipment consultant right then and there to help you make the right
Yes.
decision for you.
So I can speak from experience. That is exactly how I ended up with the podcast equipment that I have now. When I started, I had a $29 little mini microphone set that I got on Amazon. And because I had so many amazing listeners, I decided to invest. You
Time
you
to
get started with
upgrade.
something, you never know how it's going to go. Am I going to hate this? I don't know. And
Totally.
so I got a ton of positive feedback from listeners. I ended up really enjoying talking about AI all the time. And so I decided to upgrade. And the bot was perfect because I was able to have a conversation with it and like, oh, okay. I don't know what this thing that you're recommending to me does. Like, do I really need this? And it was able to talk me through, like, yes, you actually do need that. And here's why. It's got to power the microphone. And yeah. So it was able to talk me through all of that. And it was so much more powerful as a tool than a PDF.
Totally. Yes. Thank you. I'm so glad that was your experience. And yeah, I think it's cool because it took a little bit of effort to build that out, right? But not a ton because AI makes
Yeah.
it pretty easy. And then we were able to continue to finesse that, right? So we tested it. And I think this is a big part of where like the offer that you have where you help people with custom bots. So if you are not experienced with building a bot, this might be actually a little bit harder at the beginning, but part of what you do, right, is you help with that, like really thoroughly testing and making sure that the use case is going to actually achieve what you set out to achieve. And the testing is necessary because you find
Oh,
things,
yeah.
right? And I think like really pushing it to see, okay, what happens if somebody and there's trolls on the internet. What happens if somebody downloads this and they just want to be like super inappropriate with the bot? Then what happens, right? How's the bot going to respond? Because this is on behalf of my company, my brand, right? And so I need to make sure that I have my own guardrails built into it that are going to reflect the way my company does things. And so all of those kind of different random things that you might not necessarily think of at first, but you're just trying to come up with all the ways to test it. So there's a little bit of that, but that would be true if you wrote an ebook too, right? You're going to do the research, you're going to write it, you're going to format it, you're putting all that together. And then you still have to set up the landing page for someone to sign up for it, the automations for an email sequence to follow up. Like we still have all of those steps, but then it just works on its own. And other than just updating it, if I have updated recommendations, I don't really need to continue to engage with it, if that makes sense.
Yes. And you also have to set up all those things if you have a PDF and people aren't downloading PDFs. So I've still got to set up the email sequence. I've still got to set up the landing page and the thank you page and all of that. So it, like for me, at least when I build these, it feels like I'm getting a better ROI on the extra time that I'm spending
Yeah.
because people are actually engaging with it. They're actually using it. So,
Yeah. Well, and I think too, we still have the PDF
yep.
version. And so we try to make that really clear on the landing page so that if somebody shows up there and they're really opposed to
Yep.
I absolutely would never use that. I don't have a ChatGPT account. You can't make me, and is that really how you're doing things? Like I need ChatGPT to get your equipment list? No, dude, you can just have the PDF. That's fine. But for people who are AI forward, you have this other option as well. Both choices.
Nice. Okay. I love that. All right. So I feel like you have another one that you've done recently as well. And spoiler alert, I am also familiar with this one because Sarah wrote this or did this.
Yeah, well, you're my go-to at everything AI. Anything I'm working on, anything I'm building, you're my go-to person to be like, Erica, what am I missing?
I
What am I not thinking
I
of?
am
Help
the
me.
beta tester for Sarah's ideas, which I love. I
That's
love
true.
like getting a little like peek under the hood of someone else's brain because we all approach AI so differently. Yes, the LLMs function the same way for all of us, but the way we approach the questions we ask, the prompts we put in, it's so fascinating to
Yeah.
me. And getting a peek under the hood of somebody
Yeah.
else's thought process I love that. So cool.
Yeah, well, me too. I think that's one of the things that's so fun about this show. But yeah, so we also have a quiz, and I used to pay, let me be clear, like quizzes are such a thing, right? Because it's interactive, it's engaging, people feel like the results are really personal for them. So it's a really great lead magnet. But if you want to go create a quiz in the past, before like LLMs and AI and coding your own apps and things like that, vibe coding, before all of that was a thing, you had to go pay like Interact, like $29 a month to
Yeah.
host a lead magnet. That lead magnet better be working for you and leading to paid offers so that it's justifying all of these additional costs that can really add up when you're running a business. And so I was paying $29 a month to host this quiz. I don't get like a ton of web traffic, right? And so not like, like I said, I had this whole resource library that had all these really great resources in it, but like how much traffic was any of those individual resources getting? So this was another one that was available that I know was really good, and we were paying $29 a month to have it. And yeah, we ended up building it ourselves. And so originally we built it ourselves as a custom bot in ChatGPT, but actually, yes, you were there with me when I sat and vibe coded an app myself that asks you again a series of questions. And this is for existing podcasters, about like what your next step is to grow your podcast, what you should be working on right now. And based on how you answer the questions, it gives you customized results based on our coaching, my framework, the way that we do things. For these are specific things for you to focus on right now. If you just Google, how do I grow my podcast? You're going to get so many options, so many to-do lists, and none of them are tailored specifically to you. So this is based on you right now, where you are in your podcasting journey. What should you be working on? And so, yeah, so we built this with vibe coding, branded, beautiful, custom quiz with results. And I can't say it cost me nothing. There are free versions for vibe coding, but I had never vibe coded before. So I used, and I know you're going to talk about this more in season 2, vibe coding, but I used all my free credits, which if you've never done it, I know that's like a little bit confusing, but I used up my free usage limitation, basically, just figuring out how to do it.
Yeah, they give you a certain number of credits per day on the free accounts, and you will run through those in like 30 seconds,
If you don't know what you're doing.
which nobody does when you're starting. So
Yes. So I can't say that it was free, but I will say it could have been. Like what I had to learn in order to make it happen is what wasted the credits. However, the actual app that I ended up with, yes, I could have certainly done it for free. So, anyways, I think that's a really amazing and beautiful outcome of that is, oh my gosh, like nobody needs to pay for an app like Interact anymore. Like even programming in their multiple choice questions and programming in the logic for what the output should be. I mean, you can just do that yourself.
yes, and so this one obviously is more complex than a custom GPT. Another benefit to it, however, is that now it's a custom branded app that can live on your website. People do not need a ChatGPT subscription to interact with this quiz. You obviously don't want to misinform people and not explain that, okay, this is AI, but it doesn't have that same stigma.
Well, I think not having to have an account is a big part of that, because a lot of people don't want ChatGPT to have their information. And that is your personal decision, right? A lot of people don't want Facebook to have their information either.
Yep.
That is a valid personal decision. But
so you don't need an
eliminates
account.
that.
You don't need to share any information other than your quiz answers
Yep.
to be able to interact with this thing that you've already, Sarah, you had already put in so much of your brain power and your genius. And like you said, your proprietary
Right.
frameworks have gone into this. And you
Yes.
are using AI to now customize the things that you've already put your brain power into that are sitting, collecting dust in a resource section on your website. And you are repurposing them into a more interactive, engaging format that's really speaking to
Yes.
your target audience. And I think that that's something that our listeners are really going to be able to relate to. Like we all have those things that we just put so much work into that we were really proud of at one point. Like, oh, I've got this guide or I've got this ebook, and now it's just sitting and nobody downloads it. So, what
Yep.
what are some steps that people can take to go through to farm through the things that they've already used, like they've already spit out their genius into the world? How can we come up with some creative ways to turn those into lead magnets?
I think that's a great question. And I think that one of the first things, and this is what we did, is we went through as a team, and I have a team, not everybody does, but I went through my whole list of our resource library. And I was like, okay, for each of these individual things, number one, what needs to be updated and what's good as it is? Number two, is this actually something that people need? And number three, how else could we make it engaging? And kind of sky's the limit. It could look like anything, and you just kind of brainstorm, and then you're like, okay, what's realistic and feasible for us to actually make? And maybe we don't even know the answer to that. Maybe there's some things in our heads that we're like, we've got this idea, don't know if it'll work, but
Yeah.
we could try it. And that is like one of the fun things about AI is you can really just
Yeah.
test stuff and see. And sometimes you get frustrated, and sometimes you're just blown away at what is actually possible. And a lot of times ChatGPT or whatever LLM of choice will tell you. So that's another thing that when we're not feeling super like creative out of the box thinking is providing a resource and saying like, we really want to create a companion to this that would be engaging, leveraging the power of AI. Give me 20 ideas for ways that this could be more engaging lead magnet. And then some of them are going to be garbage, but if you ask it a big number, like 20 ideas, then it's going to force creativity, if that
It
makes
does, and
sense.
I want to wave a little flag here. If you get nothing else out of this episode, it's asking it to give you options. Because if you're just like, hey, I want to turn this into a lead magnet, how should I do that? And it's going to spit out one idea, and that idea might be
Mm-hmm.
good, it might be not. And that's how, like, circling back to the very beginning where you had this kind of preconceived notion about what AI was able to do, and it was like, oh, it's too good to be true, and it's just kind of this like mediocre thing, blah, blah. When you have it give you that many options, you're pushing it to think more creatively. And
Mm-hmm.
then from there, you're using that discerning eye that you've developed over years of being an expert in your field to know, okay, these 18 are crap. These two, however,
Mm-hmm.
these two have some spark to them. How
Mm-hmm.
can I take these two and run with it? And like you as the expert, you
Yes.
know your audience, you know your expertise, and you can take those and continue to brainstorm from there.
And I want to plug too what you do, your expertise and your service, because I think for a lot
Sarah,
of people who are thinking about, I want to do this and I feel like this is cool. This would be a great way to stand out, but I don't know where to start with actually building that out. That's literally what you do. And I feel like you're my go-to person when I want to build something. I mean, truly that's like you're the first person that I'm, other than like my direct team, that I'm like, Erica, I have this idea, or this might be crazy, or how would I, do you have any advice? I'm frustrated about this, or where do I start? Like, you are
yes,
my
it's crazy.
go-to
Let's do it
person.
anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, yes. And you never ever shut down an idea. I think that's the other thing is like, you are truly such a believer in anything is possible, and you are so quick to just, and of course this would like vary depending on your paid engagement relationship with Erica, but like you will screen share and immediately dig into, we're going to build something, like we're going to do this. And so if you're wanting to build something and you don't know how to do it, Erica can.
Thank you.
And at least Erica can figure it out, right? Erica will figure it out. So I think that that is you're a really beautiful support and resource, and just one of my favorite thinkers in AI. I love it. And I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to share.
Well, thank you very much. I know we're getting close to the end of our time. And so I just have one more question for you. So I guess two. If somebody is listening to us right now and thinking, all right, I want to get started, what's my next first step to figure out what, like my lead magnet, my quiz, like how would you
Mhm.
recommend people get started?
Well, genuinely, I would look at what resources do you already have. And if you're starting at the beginning and you don't have any kind of lead magnet, then there's a lot of like coaching out there of how to identify what's a good lead magnet, like the people that you want to serve and what you want to do. Like, what are they Googling? What are they looking for? The difference would be I don't really think there's coaching out there that's like beyond, here's how you use my Canva template and like turn it into a PDF. And that's fine. Like I said, I still offer a PDF, but then we're going to take it the next step further and think like, okay, how could I stand out? And I think for sure, if you look at other, and I do this because I think market research matters. If you look at other podcast production companies out there, there's a lot of people who offer what I offer in a similar price range, right? Like you just pick who you like, who you want to work with, who you happen to know. But what is going to set us apart as far as like the person who's in stealthy research mode of like, I'm trying to decide who I want to work with. I'm trying to decide if this is something I'm ready for. I'm still in like my planning mode. That's where I think the free and low cost resources can really come into play. And like I said, I hate like referring to it as a lead magnet because that sounds like I'm really only caught up in how do I attract people to me? And it's less about that. It's more about how can I actually provide value for somebody who's not necessarily ready to get on a call or to replace filling my calendar with all of those calls. Like I don't have time to do personal equipment consultations with every person who would potentially want to, but I want them to feel like they got a personalized equipment consultation with me. So that is like, that's why that was an easy place for us to start. That's like our number one question. So the number one question people ask you, the number one thing people are Googling, right? What's going to hit those like SEO markers, and then creating a resource that's going to respond to that. Or if you already have resources, which of those resources are going to be your most downloaded, et cetera. That's where I'd start.
Love it. All right. So, Sarah, if people want to find you, if people want to work with you, if you're thinking about starting a podcast, where can they find you?
Oh, I so hope you will. We love podcasters in my neck of the woods. But if you are thinking about starting a podcast, my team offers a 100% free private 90-minute strategy session with like a real person, not an AI bot for now. No, I'm just kidding. For real. This is a one-on-one. We work with you on this totally free. It's launchmyshow.com to schedule. So literally, if you're just thinking about starting a podcast, that's what that's for. And then also you can just snoop on my website, podfoxmedia.com. You can check out the equipment guide is there. Soon the quiz for existing podcasters will be there. And then on social media, I primarily hang out on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Threads. And I'm Sarah K. Heeter on all of those places. I'm snarkiest on Threads. I lurk the most on Instagram, and then I'm trying to do better at like being a professional person on LinkedIn. So depending on what you're into, that's where you can find me.
I think professionalism is a little overrated. I found Sarah on Threads. We were like,
Yes.
and your snark just spoke to me, which that might say more about me than it says about you. But but yeah, so
Oh, and the podcast, of course, too. So I also have a podcast, and Erika's been a guest like a bunch of times. And that's because we do group conversations over there. It's called Big Brave Business. And it's exactly what it sounds like. We have big and brave conversations about business. And what this past season has been is we have a big, brave question, and 3 to 5 of us just dig in to that big brave question together, like a mini mastermind that you get to listen in on or be part of. And so all of that, all of the listening links and applying to be a guest for season 4 is all at bigbravebusiness.com.
Awesome. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for sharing all of this wisdom with us today. Queens, if you are ready to stop creating lead magnets that are going to collect dust on people's hard drives, I hope that this episode has been helpful for you and that we have sparked some amazing ideas. Please, please go check out Sarah at her various social media hangouts and, of course, on her podcast, Big Brave Business. And of course, if you want to connect with me, I am now at Erika the AI Queen on Instagram. You can find me on LinkedIn as well. And then obviously, I am also at aiqueens.com, where you can find all of my also free resources, the Snarketing bot. And then I've got a couple of other ways that you can work with me. So
yeah, start the process for having your own bot.
Yes, having your own bot, having your own podcast. I love this. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Next week, we are going to dive into even more great AI topics. So make sure that you are subscribed so you don't miss it. Until then, keep creating and keep reigning with AI. Thanks for listening to the AI Queens podcast. If you loved today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a fellow queen who needs to hear this. Want more tools and tips? Join the AI Queens Society over at aiqueens.com and start ruling your business with confidence today. Until next time, stay bold, stay curious, and keep reigning with AI.